Welcome back to the Talk with AC. We're now in the NFL segment, and I'm just going to start it off here nice and simple. To quote the great ESPN and entertaining broadcaster on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, how about them Cowboys? Oh, good Lord. I've been saying it for the past few weeks that I'm done with them, and they're just lost. And then you go and lose to the team I have been saying has been done the most this whole season. And you give them playoff hope in the Chicago Bears, you make Mitch Trubisky look like Lamar Jackson. Oh boy. So the Cowboys are an absolute mess. And it's not a talent issue. It's what you'd like to call a identity or put together issue. They got a lot of flashy pieces, but they're not like gelling right now. Makes sense. Yes, they're dealing with a couple injuries on the O-line, but the defense is a mess. This was a defense that was supposed to be top 10, and it's just looked awful. They can't really generate a pass rush when DeMarcus Lawrence gets locked. The line, I know Van Der Esch is hurt. Jalen Smith is the only guy who seems like he's trying on defense. Michael Bennett is a crybaby. The secondary is getting picked apart by, again, Mitch Trubisky. Allen Robinson turned, I can't say the word on the air, but he made a mockery of Byron Jones. The Cowboys are just done. I just have no faith in them. Even if they make the playoffs, I'll get into my next thing, which is the NFC East pathetic. This is absolutely like a shame of football. This is pathetic, this NFC East. You've got the Philadelphia Eagles, who, don't worry, I'll get to you. You got the Dallas Cowboys, who I just said are done. The Giants, who are already eliminated. And the Redskins, who are a complete mockery of a football organization vying for control of the division. I don't even think Washington's technically eliminated yet because they beat Carolina this week. I don't even think they're technically eliminated, which is they beat Carolina last week. They even played this week? I don't even know. See, that's how little I care about the Redskins. It's just a joke. This whole division is just horrible. They've got some pieces, but they're top-heavy rosters. They're lacking depth. And both of the Eagles and the Cowboys just are lacking an identity. And what's funny with the Cowboys is you had one, and it worked. You had a ground-and-pound offense, and then you had Dak work off the play action. That was your identity. And clearly when Zeke got the ball enough against the Bears, he was moving it. But it just bothered me. Why are you trying to turn Dak into something he's not? I've said previously on this, you don't need a super elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Not every team needs Patrick Mahomes. It's nice if you have a Patrick Mahomes, but you don't need a Patrick Mahomes. You don't need to make every QB into Patrick Mahomes. You can win a Super Bowl with a Nick Foles, with a Jared Goff, with an Alex Smith, with an Eli Manning. You can win Super Bowls with quarterbacks, with a Kirk Cousins. You could win a Super Bowl with a quarterback like that. You don't need to make your QB something he's not. And that's what Dallas is doing right now. They're putting a circular peg in a square hole. That's what they're doing right now. And Jason Garrett needs to go. Look, his coaching is just abysmal. Urban Meyer is the rumored candidate to replace him because I don't think Lincoln Riley is leaving Oklahoma. Good for him if he gets it. There you go. There's not much else to say. How about them Cowboys? You're a mess. The Saints are iffy, and a lot of people, I'm hearing a lot of people saying this was a good loss for New Orleans. They have nothing to be ashamed of in this loss. I'm going to agree to disagree, but I'm going to agree slightly here. Look, I have been knocking on New Orleans quite a bit this year for their lack of a big game on offense. And you know what? Truth be told, they showed it this week that they could push the ball down the field. Did they push it vertically? No, but they showed they could push the ball down the field. Drew Brees seems like he hasn't lost a step. He has, but it's not as noticeable. Look, I don't know if you have another one of those in you if you play San Fran again. Here's the thing, though. A lot of the scoring, there was a lot. San Fran was dealing with a lot of injuries during that game, even if it was just minimal and part of the game. San Francisco was on their fourth and fifth cornerbacks out on the field starting for the last for like the entire fourth quarter. That's number one. Number two, New Orleans benefited a couple times for some really lucky field position, a block punt. And also, Sean Payton, look, I'm a Falcon fan. I've gone on record saying I really don't like Sean Payton. Sean Payton has this unique ability to blame everybody but himself when things don't turn out the way they hope. Whether it's a ref call, and look, I'm not even going to go into the NFC Championship. That's not what I'm talking about. There were multiple calls today where the Saints just did something stupid. It's a lack of discipline with this team, hitting a fullback in the head when he's on the ground and giving the Niners the ball at the 5. The last play of the game, or the last real play of the game. The little out route to George Kittle. Marcus Williams. Congrats, Marcus Williams. You did it again. You face masked George Kittle so much you almost ripped his helmet off, and you still couldn't bring him down. You still needed 2 other guys to help you bring him down. The reason I find them iffy is the defense is supposed to be the strength of this team this year. That's what it was supposed to be. And people are overly hyping this defense because, look, and I'll tell you why this defense looks so much better than it really is. This defense, the Saints defense a couple of years ago was ranked in the late 20s, 27th, 25th, 21st, somewhere around there. That's usually where the Saints defense hovered with those 7 and 9 seasons. Now this year, the Saints defense is up to like 15. It was up to like 4 for a while. Now it's kind of falling back down to earth in these past few weeks. Now they're back down to like 15, 16, 17. That's where they kind of been hovering around. Here's the thing with that. That's not really a top defense. That's the illusion of a top defense. They've dealt with inflated numbers from a couple of really good games, and it makes them appear a lot better than they are. Look, you got 9 sacks against Atlanta. Look, I love the Falcons, but that was an abysmal game by their O-line. Look, 9 sacks. That's called inflation. It's called an inflation of stats. Marshawn Lattimore can't stay on the field to save his life. Eli Apple gets picked apart. P.J. Williams is a complete liability. Marcus Williams can't stop choking. Chancey Gardner-Johnson is going to get himself ejected from the NFL like Vontaze Burfict if he doesn't mind the headshots. The linebackers are honestly too slow to cover most running backs. The only real strength of this defense is its defensive line and its pass rush. Now, that's great, except when you run into some of these teams where they don't get the pressure and you leave the rest of the defense exposed. That's what happens to the New Orleans Saints, and that's why I'm a little iffy on them, and I have more faith in a team like the Niners than I do in a team like the Saints. And speaking of the Niners, obviously they're back on top of the NFC, back at the 1 seed, where quite honestly I think they belong. They should have won that other game against Seattle. Quite honestly, they really should. They honestly should still be undefeated. Obviously they're not, but they really should be. They lost the close one against Baltimore. That could have gone either way. But the game against Seattle, they should have won. They just didn't have their kicker. This was the offensive outlook from Jimmy Garoppolo a lot of people were waiting for, and it finally happened, and I'm happy for him. Some of the play calling near the end of the game worried me. I'm a big Kyle Shanahan fan, partially because I'm a Falcon. I was a Falcon fan when he brought us the Super Bowl. I also kind of hate him for that still, but whole other thing. But Kyle Shanahan's 2-minute play calling with Jimmy Garoppolo near the end of the game before the Kittle play was a little nerve-wracking for me. And I don't know if it was specifically the play calling or if it was more so Garoppolo's reading. First off, you were coming into the last 52 seconds of the game. You had all your timeouts. You needed to make a drive, and you're throwing like crossing routes over the middle. That's just not really going to get it done unless someone can break one like Kittle luckily did. You got down to 4th and 2 because you suffered a couple bad plays because you kept going 5 wide, and you didn't give Jimmy any extra protection. Whether that was because Juszczyk was hurt and probably was concussed and wasn't able to come back in the game, I don't know. But that's a mistake against the Saints pass rush. Not leaving in an extra blocker, whether it's a backup tight end or a blocking running back, to help Jimmy out, in my opinion, is a mistake. But you know what? George Kittle channeled his inner Gronk and made a ridiculous play when they needed him to. So you know what? Good for the Niners. That's the big win that they really needed to solidify themselves as a top team. I said last week. The Patriots need to swim or are going to swim or sink on offense. And I think we're realizing that now. Their issue is just clearly the fact that they don't have a number one weapon. That's their issue on offense. Belichick knows it. Brady knows it. Defensive coordinators on either teams know it. And it's frustrating New England. There's one solution to this problem at this point in the season. There's literally one solution, and its name is Antonio Brown. Not that I'm saying he should be allowed back in the league personally. I don't think he should be back in the league this year. I think they should wait until next year to bring him back in terms of the NFL. But if he's cleared and the Patriots have a chance to sign him, if they want to win a Super Bowl this year, they need a top weapon. They need an Antonio Brown. They need someone who is going to draw coverage off of Julian Edelman. Because Julian Edelman seems like he's the only guy in that receiving core that Tom Brady trusts, and he's being double covered. When have you ever seen a slot receiver like that ever been double covered when it's a guy like Edelman? Julian Edelman, he's a great number 2, number 3 receiver. He's being forced to be the number 1. Mohamed Sanu, he's a great number 2, number 3 receiver. You're forcing him to be the number 2 right now without a good number 1. And that's the issue there. But New England is still a team to beat. Don't let them fool you with that. They'll probably figure out something. Otherwise, I don't envy them versus Baltimore. I don't. Okay, that was the most Houston game ever this weekend. You beat New England handedly. You beat a good team handedly. Then you come back home and you get embarrassed by Drew Lock and the Broncos, who dropped 40 on you. What the heck was that? Where did the defense go that played so well against New England and Indianapolis, not Indianapolis, some of these other teams? Like, where did that defense go? Look, the Texans' defense isn't that great to begin with, and their over-reliance on Deshaun Watson is becoming quite clear. Basically, if he doesn't get out to a hot start, they're not going to win the game. And that's what Denver exposed. I'm going to touch on Denver here quickly because I haven't touched much on Denver during the show because they just haven't been a good team. But I've been re-looking back on it, and wow, this is a wasted season for Denver. This is a completely wasted season. What do I mean by that? Well, Denver has lost a game by more than one score only twice this entire season. Denver has been extremely competitive in all their games. Their defense still plays rather well. It's not the same no-fly zone, puts fear into every NFL offensive coordinator's nightmares. But it's a solid defense, and you have solid weapons. You have Courtland Sutton, you have Noah Fant, you have Jake Butt, you have Phillip Lindsay, you have Royce Freeman, who are developing as a nice 1-2 back combo. You have Deshaun Hamilton. You have weapons. And the O-line isn't that bad. It's not a great O-line, but it's a middle-of-the-pack O-line. And in a weak AFC, all you needed was a solid quarterback. I'm telling you what, you put a guy like Alex Smith, you put a guy who's not injured, obviously, you put a Kirk Cousins on this team, you're looking at probably a division title or at least the first wild card spot. And it's disappointing because you're wasting the prime of guys like Chris Harris and Von Miller with a team like this. Maybe Drew Lock is the answer, and maybe he's really going to turn it around for them. He's done it the past 2 weeks, but maybe not. This is a quarterback draft class, and if you have the chance to get a guy like a Justin Herbert or a Tua, and you don't take it after finishing in the negative this year, shame on you, John Elway. That's all I'm going to say with that. We're going to have to fly quickly through some of these next ones here. Mike Tomlin, Coach of the Year. Look, I've been bouncing back and forth on the Steelers, but I'm ready to give Mike Tomlin the Coach of the Year award. With no Juju, with no James Conner, on your third QB, Mr. Duck Hodges, and being in the AFC North, you were managing to get probably going to end up with the first wild card spot and make the playoffs. That's just impressive, and it really deserves a clap on the back. That's just impressive, and kudos to Mike Tomlin. Look, he's always been regarded kind of as an overrated coach that's been inflated by very talented people and never really been able to take them to the next level. And that may be true based on the wasting of AB, Ben, and Le'Veon Bell when they were there. But this defense this year for Pittsburgh is legit. It's a legit scary defense. I don't want to play Pittsburgh's defense in the playoffs. I really don't. The way to beat Pittsburgh is you have to score often because their offense is only going to be able to generate so much with Duck Hodges. But defense wins championships, and the Steelers have it. Benny Snell Jr. stepped up. James Washington, Deontay Johnson have been stepping up. They look like a quality team in the AFC. I don't really want to play them in the playoffs. I really don't. The Bills play tough. I'm going to touch on this quickly. I've talked about the Bills more in depth in the past videos. You can check those out. The Bills did a solid job this week. They put themselves in a situation where they could win the game versus Baltimore. Some mediocre offensive play calling might have botched that. But either way, they were one score from Baltimore. They showed their defense is probably one of the best in the league. And again, they're another scary team come playoff time. They're probably going to sit with the first wild card spot because I don't see them passing New England unless they really go on a skid. But, good for the Bills. They're really forming up a solid team there for years to come up in Buffalo. Beckham BS. Look, I'm going to talk about this really quickly. Clearly, Beckham wants out of Cleveland. Look, I'm not going to dance around the pony. He wants out of Cleveland. That's it. All these rumors, all this stuff. He wants out. And I don't particularly blame him. It's a mess, but now he's going to have to rebuild his reputation. Suitable fits, I would imagine, would be probably San Fran, New England, Philadelphia. Probably be the three best fits. I doubt they'd give him to anyone in the AFC North. Titans are a scary team. They played really well. Part of that's due to the fact that Ryan Tannehill was playing out of his mind. I don't know where this has come from with him, but he's just playing out of his mind. Ryan Tannehill is another guy who I always thought you could win a Super Bowl with if you put the right team around him, and this might be the right team. Look, Tennessee's a dangerous team, and I don't want to play them in the playoffs. They have a solid run game, a good defense. They have some okay pass catchers. They can make some noise come January. Come January. The Seahawks are too Russell Wilson dependent, and the Rams aren't. Rams are back in it. Look, the Rams handily beat the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football to restake themselves in the wild card hunt, and they look like the old Rams. That's what they looked like the other night, and it was nice to see. It was. I don't know if it'll keep up, but it was nice to see the Rams play like that. And they're right back in the thick of things. Good luck. Best of luck to them. If their O-line can block, they might get back right. If their O-line can play decent, they'll be back they'll be in the playoff until the very end. Seahawks, I've stated this before, they're too Russell Wilson dependent, and when he can't generate offense like Houdini, it becomes a problem, and it became a problem last night. Just time of possession, they just couldn't really find their groove on offense, and it cost them the game. Now, the last thing I'm going to touch about is the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been said to be coming back and having this reemergence back into the playoff hunt. And while that is true, they're back on top of their division and will probably represent the AFC West come January. I have no faith in them, and here's why. People are pointing to this New England game as the big win KC was waiting for. Kansas City, I would not be content with this win. I would not be overly excited about this win. I think you are overlooking quite a few things. Overlooking number one, ref ball played this game. I'm just going to get that out of the way. The N'Keal Harry thing, that was a touchdown, and the fact that that wasn't reviewed was quite frankly ridiculous. The Patriots recovered a fumble at one point and had probably a high step in the end zone, and they ruled it on the field as no fumble, reviewed it, it was challenged, reviewed it, it was a fumble. So that's just poor ref ball. You were given the refs that for the most flags out of any referee crew in the NFL. I'm not even kidding. Look it up. But now let's get more away from ref ball to the actual problems here. So you played a team in New England who had been struggling on offense, but it didn't really seem like you could take advantage of it. Here's the problem. There's still problems with Kansas City. One, their run game is so I've said it multiple times. Their run game is so I can't even say inconsistent because that would be implying that they're good once in a while. They're really not in the run game. They can't really run the ball. Tyreek Hill was shut down last night. Mahomes did not make the big throws in the second half. First off, you only scored 3 points in the second half, and you allowed, I think, like 13. What does that show? That shows your coach had a adjustment problem. He did not adjust the Patriots in the second half. The Patriots did, and they were one play away from winning that game. This game did not fill me with the confidence that I think people were hoping for with the Chiefs, that they can go to Baltimore or they can go back to Foxborough in January and win on the road in the playoffs. I just don't see that in them. It's just, again, they did not adjust, and Andy Reid is finding himself in that issue, and I think he knows it. I don't really know what the answer is for the Chiefs. Well, the obvious answer would be finding a run game, but that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. So the obvious answer would be to play a little bit better defense, which they have shown recently. It's just been playing really aggressive defense, and when you play against teams like New England, that works. When you have immobile quarterbacks and mediocre receivers, it works. If you play a team like Baltimore and you try to do all that all-out blitz stuff against Lamar Jackson, he's going to take you to school. Just the Kansas City this win was supposed to inspire confidence in Kansas City for me. And it just didn't do that. Just really didn't. Mahomes, you're great. I really hope you don't become Aaron Rodgers, in the sense that you get one good team your entire career and maybe win a Super Bowl. I really hope they don't waste you. But that also said, you need to make some clutch throws, and that that hasn't really happened for Mahomes yet. I've yet to see the really clutch drives out of Mahomes. He showed some of it in the playoffs last year, but I have not yet seen that game-winning Mahomes 2-minute drill drive to fruition that I want to see from him. Right before the Patriots got the ball back the last time, the Chiefs needed the first down basically to end the game. It was third and 4. And the Chiefs it was a pass play. They called a out and corner on the left side. Basically, the outside receiver, who I believe was Sammy Watkins, ran a 5-yard out, and Travis Kelce ran a double move fake corner post up the middle for about a 10-yard route. And I'm not sure what it was on the other side. I think it was like a slant and out. But Travis Kelce got lined up one-on-one on, I believe it was J.C. Jackson, and he broke him. He got about 6 yards of separation on the play, and Mahomes didn't even look at him. And he had time too. There wasn't a lot of pressure, but he tried to force the out route for the quick little completion to get the first down, and it didn't work. See, that's the next step you have to take as a quarterback. You have to be able to identify, okay, I might be able to get that play, and that might be the safer play, but can I make a bigger play? I always point, perfect example is Aaron Rodgers in the championship, NFC Championship game, the year they went to the Super Bowl against the Bears. On the last play, I don't remember I think it was overtime, or it might have been it was either overtime or the last few seconds of the game. Either way, Rodgers had, I want to say it was Donald Driver or somebody like that, open for a 14-yard or a 10-yard in route that would have gotten the first down and gotten them into field goal range or extended the drive, one or the other. But then he's still scanning the field. He sees that he's about to throw that. He pumps it, and then he sees Randall Cobb open about 30 more yards downfield, or about 30 yards downfield in the end zone, and he hits that to win the game. That's the look. That's the next step that Mahomes has to take. And the Chiefs, if they really want to be this reliant on him, this team will go as far as Mahomes can bring them. And if he doesn't take that next step, they're not going to go very far. Quite frankly, I think they might be a first-round exit. They won't beat Baltimore twice. Not going to happen. All right, thank you all very much for watching this semester finale episode of the Talk with AVC. If you haven't watched the previous segments, please do go watch them, as they are very entertaining. You could hear more of my lovely voice. I'm not going to give the whole goodbye speech, thank you speech, because I gave that last week because I wasn't sure if I was going to have a show this week. If you want to hear all that mumbly jumbo, you can, again, watch my previous episodes. Watch it. Watch all my videos. Send me presents. No, but watch all my broadcasts. But again, special thanks, Iona, for a really cool, fun time this semester. And thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next semester, hopefully. Peace out, guys. Enjoy the college football playoffs.